Welcome into Off the Hook Sports. I am your host, Caleb Calhoun. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. As Tennessee had a bye, so we took last Friday off. Back in the saddle, ready to go to get prepared for this week's slate of games. Obviously, a crazy weekend of college football when Tennessee was off. We're going to look back on the weekend today. Also going to talk about our SEC power rankings. A lot to get to there. Most notably, Tennessee. Where is Tennessee now in the rankings and the line for them against Arkansas? That'll be the Vol report. We're going to lead off with that. We also have questions about Tennessee's mentality coming off this bye. After all, they did lose to Arkansas last year. What does that mean for them this year? Should Tennessee be happy or bitter about Nico Iamaleava's play against Penn State? That is today's tough question. And there's a Champions Corner, and I wanted to get into this. Tennessee revealed Championship Corner at Neyland Stadium as part of its whole new construction project, where they're going to honor Philip Fulmer and General Robert Neyland, and also Doug Dickey for winning national championships. And I'm going to say what the H on that, because I'm not so sure Doug Dickey should be honored. And I'll get to that. I'll also, like I said, SEC Power Rankings and Week 6 recap. So hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications. The show is brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast to you live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Let's get rolling with the Vol report, and that is brought to you by Hometown Realty LLC. Tennessee is a 13.5-point favorite against Arkansas. Meanwhile, amidst the weekend slate of upsets, the Vols have moved up to number 12 in the coaches poll and number 12 in the AP poll after sitting at number 15 for 4 weeks. They are behind. The one-loss teams that they are currently behind are LSU, who is 4-1, Georgia, who is 4-1, and Alabama, who is 4-1. The rest of the teams they are behind are undefeated. They are also ahead of multiple undefeated teams, including Georgia Tech, who is number 13, and Missouri, who is number 14, along with BYU, who is number 18, and then fellow in-state school Memphis, who is number 23 in the AP poll and number 25 in the coaches poll. Also, just for the record, UNLV, North Texas also are both undefeated. Neither of them are in the polls to this point. So Tennessee is number 12 in both polls and a 13.5-point favorite against Arkansas. That's the respect they're getting right now. What does that mean? This is the Vol report brought to you by Hometown Realty LLC. Go to ryancoleman.org, Knoxville's best from 2017 to 2022. Download the app, get instant updates, personalized searches, and more. Go to ryancoleman.org. That's ryancoleman.org. What does this all mean for Tennessee? Well, I do think it means that, honestly, from my perspective, it says people don't know what to make of Tennessee yet. You know, the win at Mississippi State doesn't look as good anymore with the way Mississippi State got draxed by Texas A&M over the weekend. And that was one of the many predictions I got wrong. After bragging about having a good week last 2 Saturdays ago, boy, you guys are going to know when I do my predictions later in the week, I had a bad week on Saturday. But I think a lot of us did. But Tennessee being number 12, I don't necessarily think they're disrespected. I do think they belong ahead of Georgia Tech and Missouri. Those two teams have played literally nobody. They have the easiest schedule of any undefeated team in the SEC or Big Ten. Maybe Oregon. My only criticism would be Oregon. Oregon shouldn't be all the way up at number 2. Their only win is over Penn State. That was in overtime, and now we know that Penn State is maybe not be that good of a school. So when you take that into account, yeah, you could criticize Oregon. But one-loss teams that are ahead of them, I mean, Georgia beat Tennessee. Alabama beat Georgia. There's no way you could not put both of them ahead of Tennessee at this moment. LSU, you can make the case that Tennessee should be ahead of LSU. LSU's one signature win on the year is at Clemson. Tennessee has 2 wins that are better than that, including Syracuse at a neutral site, who beat the brakes off Clemson, and Mississippi State on the road. And as of right now, I think we could honestly safely say Mississippi State is probably a better school than Clemson. So when you take those things into account, yeah, I mean, I know Clemson did blow out North Carolina in their last outing in the Dabo Bill Belichick Bowl that should have been on Cartoon Network. But at the same time, you could also say that Tennessee has a better resume overall than Clemson. Now, theoretically, I guess technically, you would say that LSU has a better loss because Ole Miss is undefeated and Georgia has a loss at home. But guys, come on. Like if Georgia and Ole Miss are playing on a neutral field right now, you're probably favoring Georgia, aren't you? Of course you are. So when you take that into account, okay, I could go with LSU at number 11, but I don't think any of the ones are egregious. The only ones that I think the best case Tennessee has to be ahead of anybody are Oregon and Texas Tech. Texas Tech and Oregon have played horrendous schedules to this point, and there is a debate over whether or not either of them should be in the top 10. Texas Tech, to be fair, did beat Utah on the road, and Utah is 4-1. That is their signature win. And then they also did blow out Houston, who is 4-1. So when you take that into account, you could be fair to Texas Tech and say that given the fact that they have 2 wins over undefeated teams on the road who were undefeated at the time they played them, there's an argument for them. But overall, when you actually break down their overall conglomerate strength of schedule, not just quality teams they have played or undefeated teams they've played, it's actually not that good. But I think number 12 is reasonable for Tennessee. And I don't think there's disrespect that they're down at number 12. Now, when it comes to their ranking again, their line against Arkansas, it's 13.5. I got to be honest, I'm a little shocked. I thought it'd be higher. I thought Vegas would turn against Arkansas because of the firing of Sam Pittman and the firing of the multiple defensive staff members by Bobby Petrino, and the fact that they got blown out by Notre Dame, the fact that they're traveling to Knoxville, the fact that Tennessee is coming off a bye. I really thought that they were going to put that line somewhere at 21, 25 points, honestly, because I could see Tennessee winning by that many. I think one of the things that held them back and made it just within 2 touchdowns is the unknown with Bobby Petrino. And Vegas probably has the same belief I do, and that many people do, that Bobby Petrino is going to throw the kitchen sink out in this one. The fact that Tennessee lost to Arkansas last year, and the fact that of the upsets that happened over the weekend, Penn State losing to UCLA and Texas losing to Florida. I think those 2 things together put a lot of pressure on Vegas. Now, what's lost on that is this game's in Knoxville. So if you could take Tennessee's loss to Arkansas last year. You could take Texas's loss to Florida last week. You could take Penn State's loss to UCLA last week. All those things together lead Vegas to say, oh, this is one of those games that could be a possible upset. And when you throw in the Bobby Petrino wrinkle, that makes it more likely. Let's keep the line within 14. The problem is this game's in Knoxville. These upsets have all happened that I just named were at the other team's place. Josh Heupel doesn't lose at home unless he's facing Georgia. That's pretty well documented. Since November of 2021, Josh Heupel is undefeated at home against every single team except Georgia. And take out Georgia, he's perfect. He's lost 3 games to Georgia since November of 2021. That's been an issue. So if I'm a better, I probably would take the line. I would probably take Tennessee to cover right now. I'll give my take later in the week, obviously. But I am shocked that Vegas didn't go all in on Tennessee being favored by maybe 30 points, 20, 21, 25 points. And yeah, maybe even 30 points. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm a little shocked at that overall. I feel like Tennessee, to be fair, should be much more heavily favored coming off a bye. So I would take that into account. So I'll ask this poll question for you guys. What is bigger disrespect for Tennessee? What is disrespectful to Tennessee? And we'll say being number 12 in both polls, only 13.5 point favorite versus Hogs. Both or neither? Both or neither? You guys go ahead and vote on that. That is the poll question up. What is disrespectful to Tennessee? Being number 12 in both polls, only 13.5 point favorites versus Hogs, both or neither. I'm going to go with only 13.5 point favorites versus Vols, because I do think being only a 13.5 point favorite against the Hogs, I think they should be favored by more than that. And so when you take that into account, I think that's a lot more disrespectful overall. Now, Adam says a good point. I should compare UCLA to Arkansas. UCLA lost their head coach and coordinator before a big game. That is true. And Arkansas is significantly better than UCLA. Taylor Green's a heck of a quarterback. But Adam, one of the big, again, the difference is this game's in Knoxville. And I don't think, and Tennessee's not dealing with a hangover. Okay, they're not coming off just a brutal loss like Penn State is last week. So when you take those two things into account, I think that it's a little bit different. Okay, so when you think about that, I would say Tennessee. I would say Tennessee should be a 20 to 21 point favorite. Um, Now, Colton says, why would there be disrespect? Tennessee hasn't even blown out the mid teams they've played. Well, Colton, to be fair, they've played two mid teams, Mississippi State and Syracuse. Both were away from home. They haven't played a mid team at home yet. And a mid team at home, you would expect them to be able to blow him out in the hype way where he just lights up the scoreboard. That's at least what he traditionally does. So, again, we'll have to see. Also, when you factor in the fact that here's the other part about the line, then this is what might be scary. Does this mean Jamal McCoy is not going to be ready to go this week? Does it mean that David Hobbs won't be ready to go? Those are big issues, too, for Tennessee. If Jamal McCoy and David Hobbs can't go, Tennessee could have some issues with this Arkansas offense, given what Bobby Petrino does. And let's go through history. Arkansas has a weird winning streak versus Tennessee. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys know this. I think Tennessee's last win over Arkansas was 2007. I'm pulling it up now, but Tennessee has lost to Arkansas 4 times in a row. They have a 4-game losing streak to Arkansas. That is really weird. That is a weird losing streak for Tennessee to have. They lost to Arkansas last year in an upset. They lost in 2020 during the COVID year, 24-13. They lost in 2015, 24-20, and then they lost in 2011, 49-7. But here's the crazier part. Tennessee was favored in 3 of those games. They've been favored in the last 3 games against Arkansas, and they've lost all of them. This is a really weird losing streak Tennessee has to Arkansas. I mean, Tennessee's always had a weird history with Arkansas. We know the 98 stumble and fumble game with Clint Sterner, the 99 game where Arkansas got revenge and upset them in Fayetteville after Tennessee had just gotten to number 2 in the BCS. 92, Arkansas's first year in the SEC. Tennessee's undefeated. They're in the top 5. They lose at home after Arkansas scores a touchdown, recovers an onside kick, kicks a game-winning field goal. That was the beginning of the end for Johnny Majors. Arkansas is a scary, scary football team. They, out of the blue, shock you. And the last time Tennessee faced Arkansas when Bobby Petrino led them, 2011, their worst loss to Arkansas ever. They lost 49-7. And Tennessee had the brilliant, amazing Derek Dooley as head coach during that time. So, kind of shocking that they would lose a game to Bobby Petrino in Arkansas. Derek Dooley was too smart for that. I'm just kidding. I do think, though, this is a bit – I do understand why this is a concern, but I do think Tennessee should be favored by more. That was the Vol Report brought to you by Hometown Realty LLC. Go to ryancoleman.org. Knoxville's best from 2017 to 2022. Download the app, get instant updates, personalized searches, and more. Hometown Realty LLC. Hometown Realty LLC. It is time for today's tough question, and it's brought to you by Banks & Jones, and it is this. Nico Iamaleava, after transferring from Tennessee in a really weird, bitter way that made Tennessee fans bitter, that created a crazy narrative story throughout the offseason, was generating a ton of ridicule from Tennessee fans for UCLA being the worst team in college football through 4 games, having the worst offense, and being absolutely terrible. And then out of the blue, against the top 10 program in Penn State, UCLA at home, after firing Tino Sinceri, after firing Deshaun Foster, shocks Penn State and wins 42-37, and Nico Iamaleava accounts for 5 total touchdowns. He ran for 128 yards on 16 carries. By the way, where was that running when he played at Tennessee? And he threw for 166 yards, which didn't seem like a lot, but he was 17-24 for 166 yards, and his total QBR, an incredible 97.4. That's right. He had a 97.4 total QBR while he rushed for 128 yards and threw for 166 yards. UCLA had 446 total yards. They also forced a turnover in the game. And out of the blue, Nico Iamaleava comes through with offensive coordinator Jerry Neuheisel, interim head coach Tim Skipper, who, by the way, now has as many wins against the top 10 team as James Franklin does his entire career at Penn State. Just worth noting. Tennessee fans who have had fun rooting against Nico Iamaleava all year. Here is today's tough question. What were your thoughts on his performance on Saturday? How did you take it? Were you happy because it helped Tennessee, or were you bitter that he performed well? I'm asking that poll question right now. What should Vol fans' thoughts be on Nico Iamaleava's epic performance versus Penn State? Or how should Vol fans feel? Is how I want to say that. Okay. How should Vol fans feel? Should Vol fans feel about Nico Iamaleava's epic performance versus Penn State? Happy. P.S. You losing helps Tennessee. Helps Vols, excuse me. Okay. Happy. Penn State losing helps Vols. Okay. Or mad. Still petty. Still petty over him leaving. Okay. So that is the question. How should Tennessee fans feel about Nico Iamaleava's epic performance versus Penn State? Happy. PSU losing helps Vols. Mad. Still petty over him leaving. The real story about Nico Iamaleava is that he seems to be helping Tennessee in multiple ways. And here's how he's helping Tennessee in multiple ways. Everything he's done has helped Tennessee. He freed up their NIL by transferring. Tennessee got Joey Aguilar for way cheaper. He also just helped them get a better quarterback because they got Joey Aguilar. And then when Tennessee needed him to deliver to help them get a better spot for the college football playoff, he comes out and he straight up balls out in a way that he never did for Tennessee, which is crazy. So when you take all that, into account, you got to be honest. It's kind of crazy that that Nico Iamaleava pulled that off. That is, and I actually agree with. I missed the message board real quick, but it feels it. Who said this? I apologize. Oh, Derek, you're right. Football on every level is almost Twilight Zone. Honestly, you're right, Derek. It feels like a Twilight Zone situation with what happened over the weekend. It was crazy for that to happen. And by the way, I'll point this out. This is going to be more common in college football as time goes on because, truth be told, there's more parity. So even the worst teams like UCLA can pull an upset against the better teams like Penn State. All right. And by the way, you want to talk Twilight Zone, just throw it as an aside. It reached the NFL too. My Titans. I'm so mad we won that game yesterday against Arizona. I didn't want to win. I want to keep losing because I want our coach fired. I want everybody gone. I want the house cleaned. And winning that game in a game we didn't deserve to win is going to make everybody stay longer. I'm bitter about that. That's just my aside rant. But in this one, how should Tennessee fans feel? I think you got to feel happy. Penn State losing helps Tennessee, and Nico has continually helped Tennessee since he left Tennessee. He has, truth be told, he helped Tennessee get Joey Aguilar. He saved Tennessee money by leaving, and he blew out Penn State. Is Nico Iamaleava the biggest gift to Tennessee ever? I mean, that's kind of a question. It's kind of wild how things are working out at this point. Today's Tough Questions brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
So the obvious answer to the poll question is where 92% of you are. 92% of you say, again, the poll question, how should Tennessee fans feel about Nico Iamaleava's epic performance versus Penn State? Well, now it's 86% of you say happy, Penn State losing helps Vols. 14% say mad, still petty over him leaving. 86% is right. So I will say that Penn State, I'm with you guys. You got to be happy about what happened. But how much of a gift is Nico Iamaleava to Tennessee? What's Nico Iamaleava's biggest gift to Tennessee? Saving them money by transferring, going to UCLA resulting in Tennessee, which resulted in Tennessee landing Joey Aguilar, or blowing out Penn State the way he did. I mean, this dude has been nothing but good for Tennessee to this point. Or getting Tennessee to the college football playoff last year. All right. Okay. All right. This is my next poll question, and I'm putting it up there. What is Nico Iamaleava's greatest service to UT? Ava's greatest service to Tennessee. And we'll say getting Vols to the 2024 CFP, saving them money by leaving, resulting in Vols getting Joey Aguilar. Let's see. How about that? Resulting in Joey Aguilar to Vols. Okay. We'll say this. Getting Vols to the 2020. What is Nico Iamaleava's greatest service to Tennessee? Getting Vols to the 2024 CFP, saving them money by leaving, Vols getting Joey Aguilar, or beating Penn State while at UCLA. You guys go ahead and vote on this. This is going to be the best poll of the day. What is Nico Iamaleava's greatest service to Tennessee? Getting Vols to the 2024 CFP, saving them money by leaving, Vols getting Joey Aguilar, or beating Penn State while at UCLA. I think most of you guys are going to say Tennessee getting Joey Aguilar. So when you take that into account, I'm probably on it's Tennessee getting Joey Aguilar, but some of you guys are savage, saving them money by leaving. Man, y'all are hilarious on that. Adam actually has a good point. I should have added this one. When you talk about this, they use Nico's hype to recruit some people. That's true. That's true. When you take that into account, Nico's hype maybe helped him land a few other players like Mike Matthews. So I'll be honest. Yeah, I think the greatest gift, it's them landing Joey Aguilar. But come on, guys, no votes for beating Penn State while at UCLA? Nothing? You guys just can't give him that credit on that because you're bitter that he did play well in that game when everybody wanted to see him struggle. I will say that. But okay, truth be told, it's Vols getting Joey Aguilar. I just thought we'd have a little bit of fun. What is Nico Iamaleava's greatest service to Tennessee? Getting Vols to the 2024 CFP, saving the money by leaving, Vols getting Joey Aguilar, or beating Penn State while at UCLA. 83% of you say Vols getting Joey Aguilar. 8% say getting Vols to the 2024 CFP. 8% say save money by leaving. Nobody says beating Penn State while at UCLA. But UCLA, I think most of you guys are happy that UCLA did beat Penn State because it does help Tennessee. Portions of the program are brought to you by Chattanooga Mortgage. Congratulations, your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. When we come back, we will discuss how the loss to Arkansas last year will help the Vols focus this year. That'll be bank on it. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the hook sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Hello, ma'am. I'm here to look at that plumbing problem.
Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink.
If this toilet is no good,
You're gonna need a new one ASAP.
you are not gonna believe this. You're all out of milk. Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Welcome back to the program. Hit that like and subscribe button. Ring that bell. Turn on your notifications. Alrighty. It is time for this day in Tennessee football history. On this day, 18 years ago, Tennessee came off a bye and had its signature win of Eric Ainge's senior year against Georgia at home, where they beat the brakes off Georgia 35-14. And truth be told, a game that wasn't that close. Okay. Tennessee came into that game at 2-2, unranked. They had lost to Cal by 14 to open the year, 45-31, and then got draxed by Florida 59-20. Their other two wins were Southern Miss and Arkansas State. They came out and they beat Georgia 35-14, jumping out to a 28-0 lead as they just so easily torched Georgia on the ground that day. And Eric Ainge was incredibly efficient through the year. He was 17-22 for 165 yards. And Arian Foster had 17 carries for 98 yards. Montero Hardesty had 14 carries for 68 yards. LaMarcus Coker had 17 yards. The team as a whole, Foster had 3 rushing touchdowns. Hardesty had 1 rushing touchdown. And Lucas Taylor had a passing touchdown on a trick play, a reverse play. Lucas Taylor took the ball, threw it to LaMarcus Coker for a 56-yard touchdown. The story of the game, though, was the defense, because they continually gave Tennessee the short field. They forced, I'm serious on this one, against Georgia. And Georgia's first 5 drives, Georgia's first 6 drives of that game, the defense gave up 1 first down. They forced a 3-and-out, led to a rushing touchdown, forced allowed a first down on the next one, then forced another 3-and-out, led to a passing touchdown, then forced another 3-and-out, blocked a punt, led to a rushing touchdown, and then forced another punt, and Tennessee got another rushing touchdown. And all of a sudden, Tennessee was up 28-0. What was significant about that game, after getting blown out by Florida, everybody thought Tennessee's season was done. It was left in the tank. They were 1-2. They just got lost to Calhoun, gotten blown out by Florida. Florida had Tim Tebow, was defending national champs. They looked like they were unbeatable at that point. Tennessee scored a very underwhelming victory against Arkansas State the next week to get to 2-2, but then they went into the bye 2-2. And during the bye week, Florida, out of nowhere, got shocked at home by Auburn, losing 20-17, which opened the door for Tennessee to be able to win the SEC East, because Georgia had already lost that year to South Carolina. So Tennessee had moved ahead of Georgia by beating Georgia since Georgia had 2 losses. Florida, meanwhile, had 1 loss, and another loss would put Tennessee in control of their own destiny to win the SEC East. And on the day Tennessee beat Georgia, Florida that night lost a 2nd straight game to LSU on the road, which put Tennessee in control of its own destiny in the SEC East, which nobody would have thought possible during that time. It was an incredibly epic day for Tennessee football. Also, just big point on this to make sure to drive this point home, South Carolina was technically went into that game. South Carolina had a loss going into that game, but just had 1 loss, and Kentucky technically went into that day undefeated, but lost to South Carolina. So even on a technicality standpoint, those 2 teams losing and Tennessee playing those later in the year, that day Tennessee was able to grab complete control of its own destiny in the SEC East. Georgia would win out. Tennessee would lose to Alabama, but would still win the SEC East that year because Florida lost to Georgia, and Tennessee won the SEC East. That was the last time they went to Atlanta to play for the SEC title. This day in Tennessee sports history, brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates, facebook.com/sports treasures TN, facebook.com/sports treasures TN.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
All right, welcome back to the program. It is now time for Bank on It. And it's brought to you by Commercial Bank member FDIC, My Life Made Better. Will last year's loss to Arkansas help Tennessee focus this year? Tennessee, for those who don't remember what happened last year, coming off a bye, lost to the Razorbacks in shocking fashion, 19-14. They had started the year 4-0 with 2 top 25 wins, one over an overrated NC State team, another over an overrated Oklahoma team who they beat on the road, which got them to 4-0. They got as high as number 4 in the rankings. And that was a thrilling win because Tennessee, it was Josh Heupel's return to Oklahoma, and Tennessee was able to win that game. Tennessee gets to 4-0. They go into the bye. Coming off the bye, they are so certain they're going to win. They're facing a bad Arkansas team that had just lost to Texas A&M the week before, that had already lost to Oklahoma State, that was 3-2 on the year. Sam Pittman was all but canned. Tennessee goes to Arkansas, though, and chokes in a 19-14 game. They fell behind 3-0 at halftime, but then they scored 2 touchdowns to make it 14-3. And then they let Arkansas score a touchdown, a field goal, and another touchdown to win the game 19-14. It was a really bad collapse for the Vols. It's a game they shouldn't have lost. They took it way too lightly. Will that game help Tennessee this week against Arkansas? And I got a little bit of history for you on this, okay? And I'm talking about South Carolina 2023. Tennessee in 2022, we've talked about the Columbia collapse. They lost to South Carolina 63-38, which cost them a spot in the college football playoff. The next year, on a September 30th night, they donned the black jerseys, hosted South Carolina, and unleashed on them, beating them 41-20 in what was very clearly a revenge game. Revenge games are a thing for this program, particularly with Josh Heupel as head coach. All right, let's just look at some of the other ones. Okay, so they lost to Pittsburgh in 2021. They went and beat them in overtime in 2022. Wasn't as much of a revenge game because Pitt was actually favored in that 2021 game, so it was a little bit different. It wasn't an upset like the Arkansas game. And that was a team that had won the ACC. But they haven't played Ole Miss since losing to them. Florida, again, underdogs, doesn't really count. Same with Alabama and Georgia, and they haven't played Purdue again. Those were their losses in 2022. Georgia, they were an underdog in 2021, excuse me. Georgia, they were an underdog in 2022, and they, again, have never beaten Georgia, but that's just because Georgia's been better. Florida shocked them in 2023. It's funny, the week after the Arkansas game in 2024 at home, they needed overtime to beat Florida because they always just struggle with Florida. They also lost at Alabama and to Georgia at home where they were underdogs, and they lost at Missouri where they were favorites, but they haven't had a chance to play Missouri again. So taking all of this into account, South Carolina in 2023 and Florida in 2024 at home are the only times Tennessee has had a chance to get revenge on a team that beat them the year before despite being underdogs in the game. Will that help Tennessee when they face Arkansas this week coming off a bye? Or will they get overconfident again? And here's my take. And it's Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank member FDIC, Life Made Better. It will help Tennessee that they lost to Arkansas last year to avoid getting upset by them this year, despite the change at head coach. And it's not just because of the fact that they lost to Arkansas last year. There were other reasons as well. So bank on it. I will get into those other reasons. Tennessee will not look ahead of Arkansas.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
All right, I'm setting up the poll question now. What's the biggest reason Vols will avoid another upset loss to Arkansas? Last year's game will be on their mind. Or how about last year will be on their mind? Or the Vols are getting healthy. The game is in Knoxville this time. Or Hogs turmoil. Let's say Arkansas. So these are all things that weren't there last year. Okay, so what's the biggest reason the Vols will avoid another upset loss? Last year will be on their mind. The Vols are getting healthy. The game is in Knoxville this time, or Arkansas's coaching turmoil. I don't think it'll be Arkansas's coaching turmoil, even though I do think they would have rallied more behind Sam Pittman than Bobby Petrino. I think Bobby Petrino is just not a coach you rally around as a guy that you really like. I do think at the same time, Arkansas will. I do firmly believe Arkansas will. Bobby Petrino is a good coach, good enough coach to where the coaching turmoil is not going to be a big deal. The game being in Knoxville is huge. They lost to Arkansas last year on the road because it was on the road, and Tennessee struggles on the road under Josh Heupel. Then last year, I already said will be on their mind, but also again, this is my big bank on it. They're getting healthy, guys. Did you guys notice how much better Tennessee's defense was against Mississippi State just by having Jackson Moy back out there and just by being able to run a bit deeper of a rotation and just with Arian Carter's development? It was significantly better. And by the way, Ty Redmond's developing too. As Ty Redmond developed and Arian Carter finally reaches the potential we thought he had, and Jackson Moy adds more depth to the defensive line, that unit looked so much better than it did against Georgia. Yes, the talent was worse, but at the same time, there were things they were able to do that they weren't able to do against Georgia. Colton Hood is settling in even more. He's an elite cornerback. Ty Redmond is developed. He's better. And the other big one, and this is underrated, guys, that we're not noticing. One of the reasons the defense is a lot better is Boo Carter. Boo Carter was very rusty at the start of the year because of the whole situation and him being held out and all that stuff that happened in the offseason. But guys, Boo Carter was the best player on defense in Tennessee's win over Mississippi State. He didn't have the pick six or anything like that. He should have had a forced fumble that he got for a touchdown. But I'm talking about just on play to play. He was the most consistently elite defender Tennessee had in that game. Go back and look at his tape. Pro Football Focus agrees. They gave him a 90.6 score, I think, something like that, for that game against Mississippi State. Boo Carter, honestly, was the best player on Tennessee's team in their win over Mississippi State. And it may not have been particularly close. And I didn't even think about that at the time because, when I talked about torchbearers and things like that, I'm pretty sure I didn't name Boo Carter, which is kind of crazy. But, honestly, Boo Carter was, when you actually break everything down, Boo Carter was the best player in that game. Far and away. Even better than Arian Carter. He wasn't making the big plays, and that was the thing that held him back. But him getting better, which helps Tennessee secondary, Ty Redmond no longer not making as many freshman mistakes, and Jackson Moy adding depth, all made Tennessee play better. Well, what's happening this week? Jermon McCoy's expected back. David Hobbs is expected back. All of a sudden, Tennessee gets another lockdown corner, Jermon McCoy, which will make their secondary look so much better, makes life a lot easier for Andre Turrentine and Idris Farouk because the safeties on this team are not athletic. They're not good. However, they are smart. Well, Turrentine is. Farouk is getting smart, but he's got some developing to do. But the point is, Turrentine can just play smart ball and be in the right position with Jermon McCoy and Colton Hood on either side because now they can play on islands and all he's got to do is read things a little bit better, and he reads things well as it is. So that's all he has to do. His athleticism won't be as important. So the secondary gets very elite. If David Hobbs comes back, this rotation gets incredible. So I'll tell you this right now. Last year will be on their mind, but they're also getting healthy. And the game's in Knoxville. All those reasons are why Tennessee, and yes, I say it again, bank on it, will not get upset by Arkansas, or is it not in danger the way they were last year? There are too many things working in their favor, even with the concern of Petrino. And I do think the Arkansas coaching turmoil does help them more than it hurts them. I will say that. But I'm being honest with you guys. I genuinely think Tennessee should be happy about the situation they are. Derek, you have a good point. Arian Carter honestly has been a close disappointment. That is true. He has, particularly in coverage, but I think he found his rhythm against Mississippi State. That dude hit a new stride against Mississippi State. He was everywhere. And I think taking that into account, if he continues to develop in that way, Tennessee all of a sudden becomes a much more dangerous team. He's getting more help with the rotations on the defensive line, who's not as tired, and he's also getting more help on the back end in the secondary if Jermon McCoy gets healthy and as Ty Redmond could continue to develop. And also Boo Carter getting better. Don't sleep on that. That's the real big deal. So this team is in great shape going forward. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. When we come back, Champions Corner at Neyland Stadium, I got some issues with. What the H? Stick with us 2 minutes off the hook sports.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Hello, ma'am. Here to look at that plumbing problem? Oh boy. Yep. You're gonna need a whole new sink. If this toilet is no good, you're gonna need a new one ASAP.
You are not gonna believe this.
You're all out of milk.
Have you heard about our service plan?
I need to call Scott's.
Scott's Plumbing, your trusted neighborhood plumber since 1977.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Welcome back to the program. Hit that like and subscribe button, ring on that bell, turn on your notifications. I got some issues with something Tennessee football is doing, and it is time for What the H? Tennessee is putting a Champions Corner at Neyland Stadium where they are going to honor championship coaches. They are going to honor coaches who have won national championships at Tennessee. And so obviously they're going to put Philip Fulmer on there. He won a national championship in 1998. Consensus outright, no debate there. They're going to put General Neyland on there, who won a national championship consensus in 1951 for the AP and coaches, the first consensus national champion ever from the SEC to win in the AP poll. And the first consensus national champion ever for the AP and coaches poll, since the coaches didn't start till 1950, even though they lost their bowl game. Bowl games were exhibition games at the time. But if you factored in bowl games, Tennessee would have won the 1950 national title, and they claimed that one. So Neyland belongs on there either way. And also Tennessee went undefeated in 1938, finished number one in a couple of polls. In 1939 and 1940, they lost both bowl games. But again, bowl games were exhibitions. They could claim national titles both years. They don't for 39, but they do for 1940. So they do it for 38, 40, 50, 51, all reasonable, and of course 98. However, joining them in that corner is going to be Doug Dickey for the 1967 season with Dewey Warren at quarterback. Now, I got a lot of respect for Dewey Warren. I got a lot of respect for Doug Dickey bringing in the slot T formation, bringing Tennessee into the modern age. He integrated Tennessee football. He had a great run. Tennessee winning the SEC title in 1967 and 1969, finishing in the top 10 in 1965. Him leaving Bill Battle with a ton of talent, so they still finished in the top 5 in 1970, going 11-1, and then going 10-2 in 71 and 72 with Condredge Holloway in 72 when they did that. I got a lot of respect for what Doug Dickey built and that Bill Battle continued early in his tenure. That 67 national championship is a joke. It's a total joke. Tennessee should stop claiming it. It's embarrassing. Okay, for those who don't know what happened that year, again, bowl games, the AP poll counted bowl games after the season for 1 year, then went back to not counting them after the season when this happened. So what happened? Tennessee lost the opener to UCLA. They lost the opener to UCLA on the road 20-16. They then won every game after that, every single one, to finish 9-1. Okay, fair enough. UCLA, for their part, had gotten all the way up to number 1. They tied Oregon State late in the year, but then they got to number 1 on November the 18th, and they lost to USC 21-20 in one of the most legendary football games of all time. O.J. Simpson had his Heisman moment that year, I believe. I believe that was the year O.J. won the Heisman. He had a 64-yard touchdown run, and he won the Heisman later that year. I believe it was 67 when he won the Heisman. No, it was 68. Excuse me, it was 68. He was a Heisman candidate in 67. But O.J. had a huge run. That's how USC beat UCLA. That resulted in UCLA falling to number 4. USC, who had lost at Oregon State the week before, jumped up to number 1. So they got to claim the national title because they finished number 1 in the AP poll and the coaches poll. Now, Tennessee was number 2 at the end of the season in both polls. They were number 2 in pretty much every other major poll. But the Litkin House poll had them at number 1. This random poll, the Litkin House poll, had them at number 1. So they claimed a national title. Even though in the bowl game, they lost to Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl 26-24. And during this time, by the way, you were trying in your bowl game because many of the selectors were starting to rank teams after the bowl game. So they lost their bowl game to number 3 Oklahoma, who also had one loss, and which was to Texas 9-7. And they still claim a national title despite going 9-2. That is some Alabama type stuff. What the H? That's how Doug Dickey's going to get a statue alongside Philip Fulmer and Robert Neyland, who have consensus national titles. And that is What the H, brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? They want to be your jeweler, a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
All right, I'm putting up the poll question, and it's this. Should Doug Dickey have a statue next to Philip Fulmer and Robert Neyland for his 1967 national title? And you guys can vote on this now because I really do have a problem with it. Because, okay, here we go. Should Doug Dickey have a statue next to Philip Fulmer and General Neyland for 1967 national title? Yes, a title is a title. No, Fulmer and Neyland won real titles. All right. So you guys vote on that. Even if you want to give Doug Dickey one and claim the 67 national title, come on, guys. Does that really get the same credence as what Fulmer and Neyland were able to do with real national titles? It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay. I get I'm just not a fan. You know what I think they should do? Here's the truth of the matter. 2 less statues. You want to still claim 6 national titles if you're Tennessee? I got a couple you can claim. That are more legitimate than the 1967 national title. Here you go. 1939. That team did not win its bowl game, but again, nobody considered bowl games part of the title that year. They went undefeated, untied, and unscored on in 1939. That team should claim a national title. 1914, Zora Clevenger went undefeated, went perfect, won the SIAA, claimed that one. Here's a crazy one for you. How about 1989 under Johnny Majors? Okay, I don't know if you guys know this. That Tennessee football team went 11-1 and finished ranked number 5 in the nation. Who finished ahead of them? Well, a few teams that shouldn't have. And I'm going to name a few of them. Miami finished ahead of them. Miami lost to Florida State that year. Why does Tennessee get to finish ahead of why does Miami get to finish ahead of Tennessee? They claimed the national title, for the record, that year. They were the consensus national champions. But again, they lost to Florida State. Why do they get to claim the national title? I think that's a little weird. How about Florida State? They finished ahead of Tennessee. Florida State had 2 losses that year. They lost the opener to Southern Miss, and then they lost to Clemson. What in the world are they doing getting to claim a national title when they lost 2 games and Tennessee just lost 1? Florida State and Miami should not have finished ahead of Tennessee. How about Notre Dame? Notre Dame lost to Miami, and they didn't just lose. They lost 27-10 in a blowout. Why did they deserve to finish ahead of Tennessee? And then finally, the most notable one, Colorado, who went 11-1, lost 21-6 to Notre Dame in the bowl game. When you look at all of those, why not Tennessee claim the 1989 national title? They got every right to. They got as much a right to claim that title as anybody else. Okay, I think Tennessee is totally within their grounds to claim the 1914, 1939, and 1989 national titles. The 1967 national title is a joke. You shouldn't be claiming that one, Tennessee. I'm sorry. It's a little lame to claim that national title. That's just my thoughts. Okay, come on, guys. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. Do we really think Tennessee should be claiming the 1967 national title? I don't think they should, and I don't think most of you guys think they should either. Okay, because and you would be right. They shouldn't. All right, because the 67 title was a total joke, complete and total joke. These are not things you should be doing, and don't be like Alabama. I know that's kind of like, don't take pride in claiming legitimate national titles. Don't be like Alabama. Don't do what Auburn did. I don't have a problem with Auburn doing it, but because Auburn just claimed 10 more national titles recently because they decided to hold themselves to the standard that Tennessee held themselves to. And again, in my mind, I'm like, I can't even blame them for that. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. It's to me, it's just tacky. Okay, that's the word I'm going to use for it. It's tacky. So that's my thoughts. Poll question is up. What do you guys feel? Should Doug Dickey have a statue next to Philip Former and General Neyland for 1967 national title? 22% of you say yes, the title's a title. 78% of you say no. Former and Neyland won real titles. I'm with those who say no. It is time for the stat of the day, and the stat of the day is this. It's coming off a bye. Tennessee. Josh Heupel's record coming off a bye as head coach at Tennessee. 4-1. His only loss was to Arkansas last year. Tennessee needs to get revenge on that game. But he did win another game coming off a bye last year against Kentucky. Stat of the day brought to you by Joe Neubert Collision Center. For nearly 50 years, Neubert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. JoeNeubertCollision.com, JoeNeubertCollision.com. Also, portions of the program are brought to you by HoundDogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. HDKnoxville.com. HDKnoxville.com. When we come back, SEC Power Rankings and Week 6 college football recap. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super Savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 Volume 4 dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Welcome back to the program. Hit that like, subscribe button, ring the bell, turn on your notifications. Portions of the program are brought to you by Peak IV Hydration in South Knoxville and Sevierville. Live your life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. Link is in the chat. Also, portions of the program are brought to you by Quality Tire Pros, serving Chattanooga community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service, automotive brake alignments, oil changes, and more. QualityTirePros.com. Walk in and say, hey, Mo, Off the Hook Sports sent you. All right, let's get rolling. It is time for our SEC Power Rankings. And we separate these tiers by in 4 separate tiers, which is 4 downs, brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. And the tiers are this pretty much. In trouble. That's our first one, which is actually, yeah, we're going to say in trouble is our first tier. Our next tier is still questions. Our third one is in the hunt. And our fourth one is rolling. All right, so you guys go with us. This is going to be 4 downs, and it's brought to you by our SEC Power Rankings are set into 4 tiers. In trouble, still questions, in the hunt, and rolling. 4 downs brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. For those who don't know, and I'm sure you guys all know now, I don't have the soundboard that Dave has for the Cooper Mays voice to tee us off for 4 downs. We usually have Dave tee us off for 4 downs. We usually have an automated voice of Cooper Mays tee us off for the 4 downs, but that's with Dave's soundboard, and without him on the show, I am doing Cooper Mays impression. That's how I do things. So we start with a message from Cooper Mays, and let's get rolling. And here is the message again. First, Cooper Mays here. Like and subscribe. Well, thank you, Coop. All right. So now, after asking you guys to like and subscribe, we go Coop here. First down. First down. The in trouble tier. And we have got 3 teams in this tier. And I think the 3 are actually fairly obvious, but you guys can tell me what you think on that front. But the 3 teams that are actually, no, I'm going to have 4 teams now on that tier. 4 teams on that tier. Number 16, still last place in the SEC, is Kentucky. Getting blown out by Georgia. Kentucky still hasn't proven anything yet, and they are looking like a worse team by the day. Kentucky is 2-3. They are in trouble. They are number 16 on this list, and it's for good reason. Number 15 on this list is Arkansas. Arkansas 2-3, fired Sam Pittman. Now they're hiring Bobby Petrino, obviously in trouble. And when I say in trouble, I mean like they can't reach any of the goals they want. They're pretty much out of chance to reach the goals they want, and that's what it looks like. So Arkansas, Kentucky and Arkansas are 16-15. Staying in the in trouble route, by the way, are 2 teams with winning records. One, South Carolina. Yes, they did beat Kentucky last week, 35-13. But I still maintain that they're in trouble because I'm not so sure what to make of Lenore Sellers yet. And so I'm keeping them in the in trouble tier for now, but they could get better, but they're number 14. Number 13, and the final in trouble one, Texas. Arch Manning does not look good. Florida beats them 29-21. Florida's a bad football team, and that was a really, really bad loss for Texas. And the final in trouble team, I actually have 5 in trouble teams. I'm keeping Florida on there. Florida's still in trouble. Billy Napier's 2-3, but that's more about Texas being in trouble. Florida's still 2-3. That's a big problem. So that's where we're landing with that. Okay. The still questions crowd. The still questions crowd is this. We're going to go 10. Mississippi State. I'm sorry, Mississippi State's 11. 11. Oh, wait. Sorry. Cooper Mays here. Suck it down. Thank you, Coop. Number 11 is Mississippi State. The blowout by Texas A&M, there are still questions. They do have 2 losses. They have the quality win over Arizona State, but now you're going to start to wonder about them a little bit because of what happened over the weekend. They got blown out. So now they are down to number 11. Number 10 on the list, Auburn, who had a bye. Auburn had 2 close losses, 2 tough losses, but they still have 2 losses, so we have to put them at number 10. All right. Tennessee's in a group of Mays here. 3rd down. Thank you, Coop. In the hunt, these are teams that have a loss or are undefeated, but they still have stuff to prove. But they have looked good. They either have quality wins and a loss with a loss. There is nothing to knock them out yet. We just don't know where they're going to land. And in that group, Vanderbilt comes in at number 9. LSU comes in at number 8. Missouri comes in at number 7. Tennessee comes in at number 6. Georgia comes in at number 5 and Alabama at number 4. In case you guys didn't notice, there's one undefeated team on that list, and it's Missouri. Missouri hasn't beaten anybody worth anything yet. So that's why I have them down in the middle of the pack at number 7 in the SEC Power Rankings. Vanderbilt just losing pushes them to number 9. LSU is at number 8 after a bye. Their only loss is still by 5 to Ole Miss, so you can't freak out about them yet. Missouri number 7. I have Tennessee ahead of Missouri but then I have to go circular. Tennessee lost at home to Georgia. Georgia lost at home to Alabama. So Alabama has to be ahead of all of them right now. Alabama is absolutely number 4. That even though that Florida State loss looks worse and worse by the day, Alabama is a much better team than the one that lost to Florida State to open the season. 4 Downs is brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, New and Used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. 4th Down coming up next.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Oh, this is on a group of Mays here. 4th Down. Thank you, Coop. And 4th Down, teams on a roll that have nothing to worry about right now. They have proven themselves, and they are undefeated. Number 3 is Ole Miss. Didn't play this week, got a much-deserved bye after beating LSU. Number 2 is Texas A&M, and Texas A&M looks really, 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 really good after blowing out Alabama. Blowing out Mississippi State. Remember, Tennessee needed overtime to beat them. Now, Texas A&M was at home, but Texas A&M, that's still a really big win for them. And they're showing multiple ways to win that way to beat Auburn 16-10 and then beat Notre Dame 41-40. Texas A&M has just gotten 3 quality wins in a row. This program is dangerous. They are really good. They have a case to be number 1 in the nation, by the way, right now, given what they're doing. But the question is this the Kevin Sumlin era, or is it a new era? And I didn't say Jimbo Fisher. I said Kevin Sumlin. The reason I said Kevin Sumlin is because how many times under Kevin Sumlin did Texas A&M start undefeated and then crash out towards the end of the year? Someone's best year at Texas A&M was his first year, the Johnny football year, where Texas A&M was flying under the radar. Nobody thought anything about them, by the way, because they lost their opener to Florida and then they lost to LSU. And so at the time they were 5-2, and then out of the blue, they got red hot in late October to beat Auburn, Mississippi State, and of course, as we know, Alabama, and then Missouri towards the end, and then beat Oklahoma. But it was that Alabama game that made Johnny football famous. But funny enough, that was his best season, and that was not his hottest start. And then the next year, there was the infamous Alabama-Texas A&M game with the bad defense earlier in the year. But then came 2014. What happened? Texas A&M, after Johnny football, started the year 5-0, got to number 6, and then flamed out with 3 straight losses. 2015, Texas A&M started the year 5-0, then flamed out with 3 losses in 4 games. Texas A&M in 2016 started the year 6-0, and then crashed out with losing 5 of its final 7 games. That was always what happened with Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M. Is that Texas A&M now, or is it a different one? We'll find out. But the best team in the SEC right now is still Oklahoma. I get Texas A&M got the big one over Mississippi State, and I know Oklahoma only beat Kent State, who was horrible. But with a backup quarterback, Michael Hawkins Jr., they scored 44 points. And even though John Mateer is not out, their defense still looks elite, the Brent Venables defense, and they shut out Kent State. This team is still really good. And I got Oklahoma now back to number 1 in my SEC power rankings, despite Mateer being hurt. Those are my SEC power rankings. And I do think that this is a loaded SEC. I mean, we're talking Oklahoma down to Vanderbilt. Everybody is in the college football playoff race. And by the way, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Texas aren't out of it. Neither is South Carolina. 2 loss teams got in last year. So if they went out, I mean, we're still talking about 2 loss teams that could absolutely get into the playoff. So I wouldn't freak out about that to this point if I were any of those teams. Portions of the program are brought to you by the UPS Store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. It is time for our Week 6 college football recap. And boy, was it a wild one in college football. Upset City is really the headline for this, isn't it? Upset City is the headline for college football, and that's where we're going to roll because teams that were left for dead out of the blue decided to ball out. And we obviously start with, and this is going to be hot or cold because I'm going to name a team, and I'll say, am I hot on them, either keeping their momentum or turning things around, or am I cold on them, meaning they won't turn things around and they won't keep their momentum? That's how we're going to play this game. So hot or cold, let's get rolling. And this is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters, cityheatandair.com. Let's get rolling with our Week 6 recap. And the headline of the weekend, UCLA and Florida, out of the blue, pretty much eliminate almost Texas and Penn State from the college football playoff picture. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the show, 2 losses still can get you to the college football playoff, but these were devastating losses for those 2 programs who I don't see a path to 10-2 now for them because it's likely they lose another big game. They both have a couple of other big games. So UCLA and Florida were the headlines. UCLA fired Deshaun Foster, fired Tino Sinceri, and out of the blue with Tim Skipper as an interim head coach and Jerry Neuheisel, they go out and have a completely transformed offense and beat Penn State at home, the upset of the year. UCLA was 0-4, hadn't even scored more than 17 points in a game, I don't think, this year. Had lost to Northwestern and UNLV and New Mexico. This was a bad football team. And they go beat a Penn State team that was a heartbreaking overtime loss away from being undefeated. Shocking loss. By the way, okay, UCLA did score 23 points against UNLV, but otherwise they scored 10 against Utah, 10 against New Mexico, 14 against Northwestern. Nico Iamaleava may not be done yet. Florida also, Billy Napier is the king of doing just enough to keep his job as they upset Texas 29-21 at home. Now, UCLA and Florida, where do I land on them? I'm cold on Florida being able to keep this up. They're about to have to go to Texas A&M. This was a game in the swamp. It's a little bit different when it's in the swamp. They're going to have to go to Texas A&M after this, and I think they're going to blow that one. I am also cold on UCLA turning things around. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm out on UCLA turning things around. I am. I know that's kind of crazy to say, but, honestly, when you do change your coaching staff and you have Jerry Neuheisel, who has been with UCLA for a while. He has experience in the Chip Kelly system, by the way. He's developing his own offense. I actually think he knows what he's doing with Nico. He used Nico Iamaleava way better than Tino Sinceri did and used his legs. And so with that happening, I actually think that UCLA is going to turn things around in a shocking fashion. Now, I don't think they're going to make a bowl game, but I don't think they're going to any longer be the worst team in FBS football, or at least Power 4 football, because they still have Maryland at home, and Maryland just choked to Washington. For those who watch, I think they're going to beat Maryland at home, by the way. I also believe that they have a shot at Michigan State, Nebraska, and Washington at home. They could win both of those games. So just watch out for UCLA to maybe get the 4 wins and say they're selling something for the future. Now, on the other side, Texas, boy, Arch Manning's in trouble. That was a rough game by Arch Manning. A lot of criticism of him. Florida does have a good defense. I want to be fair and say that Florida has a very good defense, and it was in the swamp. That's just a tough place to play. So when you take that into account, I understand the criticism of Arch Manning. I hate seeing it. I'm a big fan of the Mannings, and also particularly Arch. given what happened with Cooper, you want to see his son do well at the very least. But at the same time, I want to point this out. Okay. Florida did score 21 points. South Florida scored 18. Texas scored 21 points. Long Island University was shut out in the Swamp. South Florida, who was in the top 25, scored 18 points in the Swamp in a win. And Miami only scored 26 on Florida, and LSU only scored 20 on Florida, and both of those were in their places. So when you take that into account, Florida's just got a very good defense and at home. So I'm going to say something crazy. I'm hot on Texas. I'm hot on Texas still being fine. I'm hot on Arch Manning still being fine. And you can think I'm crazy about that, but I think people are really overreacting. I think Florida's just a really tough place to play. Now, it's going to look worse for Texas this week because they got Oklahoma coming into town. And Oklahoma they're going to face Oklahoma and Dallas. And Oklahoma also has a loaded defense. So Arch Manning is going to look even worse this week, and there's going to be questions about him as Texas falls to 3-3. But then they close on the back end against Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, Texas A&M. Those are all questionable defenses. I actually think Arch Manning and Texas are going to finish strong. I just think that they're in a brutal situation right now, and it's not good given all the media hype he had. So I still think they're okay. The other team, Penn State, where am I on them? Am I cold on them being able to reach their goals after that loss? Well, truth be told, no, because they got to visit Ohio State, and they're going to lose that game. So Penn State is straight up done. By the way, that was my first takeaway, just the UCLA and Florida upset wins. All right, my next takeaway. Bunch of one-loss teams, 3 one-loss teams are jockeying for the 4th best team in the Big Ten. And Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon are clearly the 3 best. They're undefeated. Michigan has 1 loss. That's Oklahoma on the road. Not a bad loss. Illinois has 1 loss. Ugly-looking loss where they got blown out by Indiana. And USC has 1 loss to Illinois. Now, Washington, Maryland, Nebraska all have 1 loss too. Close loss to Michigan for Nebraska, so you could think that maybe Nebraska's in it. They got to show me more. Same with Maryland and Washington. I'm not ready to believe in them yet. Maryland choking against Washington was just a really bad look on there, and Maryland was up 20-0 and blew it. So right now, USC, Illinois, and Michigan, I think, are the ones jockeying for that 4th Big Ten spot. And that 4th spot is ever so crucial because 4 Big Ten teams made the college football playoff last year, so we don't know what's going to happen this year. Which one am I hot on? I'm hot on Michigan. I think Michigan is going to be the one. They're well coached still. They're a well-run team. Sharon Moore, they just beat Wisconsin 24-10 in a game that wasn't that close. I'm still hot on Michigan doing what they're doing. You guys just saw this from my last segment. Even with Texas gone, the SEC race is still loaded. As of right now, there are 9 SEC teams that are in the hunt credibly at this point. Texas, Mississippi State, and Auburn, by the way, and South Carolina all have 2 losses and could be in the hunt. But Oklahoma's undefeated. Texas A&M's undefeated. Ole Miss is undefeated. Alabama has 1 loss. Georgia has 1 loss. Tennessee has 1 loss. Missouri is undefeated. LSU has 1 loss. Vanderbilt has 1 loss. Now, I'm going to say if I'm hot or cold on these people being in the college football playoff race in November. Oklahoma, hot. Texas A&M, hot. Ole Miss, hot. Alabama, hot. Georgia, hot. Tennessee, hot. Missouri, well, okay. Here's the point with Missouri, and this is kind of a problem with Missouri. They're staying afloat because they play an easy schedule. So am I hot on them staying in the college football playoff race going into November? No, I'm not. They're about to play Alabama, at Auburn, and at Vanderbilt. I think they're going to lose all 3 of those games. So when you take that into account, I am cold on Missouri. By the time November comes, they'll be done. They lose 2 games. They have no shot at getting to the college football playoff. I think that much is clear. What about Vanderbilt, one of the teams that they play? No, because Vanderbilt has to play LSU, and then they have to visit Texas the first weekend of November. So even though they have a bye, a much-needed bye after that loss to Alabama, I think they will be out of it come November as well. Maybe all November the 1st they'll be in it, but they're going to lose at Texas. I'm just going to say that up front. LSU, on the other hand, yes, they will be in it. They're going to play South Carolina. They're going to beat them. I think LSU will win at Vanderbilt, and then I think LSU Texas A&M is a huge game on October the 25th. But again, they'll still both be in it. 2 losses will keep you in the playoff race in November if you have LSU schedule. So I'm hot on LSU. So the only teams still in the hunt that I'm cold on when it comes to the SEC as of right now are Missouri and Vanderbilt, which seem pretty obvious. I think by November they're not credible threats, so I'm cold on them going forward. Continuing with things, sticking with the SEC, Alabama, big win over Vanderbilt. Alabama now has beaten Vanderbilt, and that is after upsetting Georgia on the road. And by the way, people are like, oh, Alabama struggled to put Vanderbilt away. Alabama was favored by 10.5. They won by 16. Why is everybody freaking out over Alabama? Kalen DeBoer's got the program rolling. I am hot on Alabama. They are a dangerous football team, guys. They are a dangerous football team. They look like a playoff team. They have top 5 caliber talent. Meanwhile, on the other side, to the ACC, and like I said, I'm cold on Vanderbilt. Miami blows out Florida State, makes it very clear that they are one of the best teams in America. Mario Cristobal, his in-game management is worth criticizing all day long, but in terms of an actual, building a program and coaching, he knows what to do, and I'm hot on Miami staying in this race because what's left for Miami? Well, October the 17th, they got Louisville. They got a bye now after beating Florida State in a crucial game. Knocks out Florida State. Florida State's done. It's over for Florida State. So Miami gets to face Louisville, Stanford, visit SMU, host Syracuse, host NC State, visit Virginia Tech, and visit Pittsburgh. Miami's probably going undefeated. I think the only chance they have of losing a game, maybe at SMU or maybe at Pitt, but I think they're going undefeated at this point. So the question is, can a second ACC team get into the college football playoff? That's my next takeaway. So I'm hot on Miami, cold on Florida State because Florida State can't get to the playoff now after that loss. But what about other ACC teams? Well, Virginia scores a big upset win over Louisville. All of a sudden, Virginia is a very dangerous team. They only have one loss. They're 5-1. That loss was at NC State at the beginning, early in the year, but actually that game doesn't count as an ACC game. And so now they have Tony Elliott's really turned a corner. Virginia's a threat. Duke is undefeated in the ACC, but they have 2 losses. They're not a college football playoff threat. And then obviously Georgia Tech is undefeated right now. All right, I'm going to say this. I've been a Tony Elliott fan from the start. I think Tony Elliott was behind Clemson's success. And Virginia is facing Washington State. They're visiting North Carolina. They're visiting Cal. They're hosting Wake Forest. They're visiting Duke and hosting Virginia Tech. They could finish 10-2. It's just some of their easier games are on the road, and sometimes you want your easier games at home to make sure you can win and just your throwaway losses on the road. Now, as far as Georgia Tech goes, what's looking down their schedule? Virginia Tech at home, that's a win, but then they got to visit Duke, and they got to visit NC State and visit Boston College. I'm actually cold on Virginia or Georgia Tech being able to be in the college football playoff race, so I think it's only going to be one ACC team this year. And the reason for that is because they're not good enough to beat mediocre ACC teams on the road consistently, so they're both going to slip up at some point. And then Georgia Tech still has to play Georgia down the pike. So I'm cold on that. All right. A lot of teams still in the Big 12 race, but it's very clear the race for the clear-cut Big 12 team is down to 2. Texas Tech looks like the best one after beating Utah, which was undefeated, and then they come around and beat Houston. So Texas Tech is undefeated at 5-0. BYU, meanwhile, is also 5-0, but hasn't beaten anybody good yet. And they still got more to prove. But BYU and Texas Tech, both undefeated. The Big 12 race right now is down to them. Arizona State is still in it with 1 loss. And out of the blue, Cincinnati jumps in it with 1 loss after they upset Iowa State, who was undefeated at home. Blow them out, by the way. I got that one wrong. But then a bunch of other 1-loss teams. Arizona, Houston, TCU, Utah. Big 12 play is about to get thrilling, guys. We love Big 12 play. Who am I hot on this? I'm only hot on Texas Tech. I think they bought a bunch of talent in the offseason. That's going to keep them in the race. And meanwhile, Memphis is the group of 5 favorite. This is my final takeaway. Memphis is the group of 5 favorite, but Navy, they had a bye, but Navy won again. North Texas remains undefeated. South Florida is lurking and is not going anywhere despite 1 loss. And UNLV in the Mountain West. So UNLV, South Florida, Navy, and North Texas are all in there. I'm cold on North Texas. I'm hot on Navy, man. They can be dangerous. And watch out for that one. Memphis plays Navy the last game of the year in the regular season. That is going to be a huge game. But truth be told, I am hot on Navy. I'm hot on South Florida. And I'm hot on Memphis. I'm cold on North Texas. And even though I think Dan Mullen is a good coach and Florida never should have fired him, I'm still cold on UNLV. They got to visit Boise State. They got to visit Nevada. And they got to visit Colorado State. I can't believe they're for real just yet. So it's down to me too. The teams I'm hot on are Memphis, Navy, and South Florida. They all play each other. South Florida has to play Memphis. Navy has to play Memphis. Memphis has to play Navy. And so I'm hot on all 3 of them. It's going to come down to those 3. I don't know how those games are going to end up at this moment. North Texas, meanwhile, has to play Navy and South Florida. Matter of fact, this North Texas South Florida game this week, circle it. It's an elimination game. It's an elimination game from the group of 5 race in the playoff. So those are my takeaways on that. Hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. CityHeatandAir.com.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your fan. All right, guys, it's time for my Heisman race and my top 10. My Heisman race right now, and it's based on performance and moments. And Fernando Mendoza at Indiana leads it, by the way. Yeah, that's right. Fernando Mendoza at Indiana. He's got them undefeated. His stats are through the roof. I think he's got the best quarterback rating in the nation. Sawyer Robinson at Baylor. I know Baylor has 2 losses, but look at Sawyer Robinson's stats. Leads the nation in passing touchdowns and in passing yards, 15 touchdowns, I think 2 interceptions, something like that. Sawyer Robinson is too good. Same with stats. Luke Altmaier, I know Illinois had that bad loss, but Luke Altmaier is absolutely balling. Now, in terms of moments, Carson Beck is in there now. He's number 4. Stats aren't what the other ones are, but he's had the toughest schedule to this point, and Miami gets to coast, and now he can pad his stats down the rest of the season. So Carson Beck's going to get in there after the wins and then that. And finally, it's my hot take, but Trinidad Chambliss is in there. If Trinidad Chambliss had played the full season, he'd lead everybody in the stats, but he's the most productive quarterback in college football right now for Ole Miss. He started week 3, and he's been balling ever since. Now, my top 10. I always tell you this. I'm only about schedule strength and record for my top 10. I don't care about margin of victory. I don't care about projections. More importantly, and this is a big thing, schedule strength is not just your quality wins, your big games, or your good losses. It's the conglomerate, okay? How good are the mid-tier teams you play? Because the more of those mid-tier teams you play week to week, the tougher your schedule gets. That has to factor into schedule strength, okay? I've always said this. I would rather play, it's easier to play 2 top 5 teams and then 10 garbage teams than it is to play 6 top 25 teams, none of whom are in the top 5, and then 6 garbage teams. It is, and that's how I rank it. So I actually go by the record of your opponents and the record of your opponent's opponents. That's how schedule strength should go into account. When you take into account schedule strength, Oklahoma still deserves to be number 1. They still deserve to be number 1. They have multiple quality wins. Texas A&M's number 2. Texas A&M has had 3 straight Power 5 wins. Texas A&M's clearly number 2. Miami's number 3. Ohio State's number 4. Ole Miss is number 5. Indiana, we got to give them respect, man. They're number 6. They've actually been a quality team this year. Alabama's number 7. They have 1 loss, but they played a brutal schedule to this point. Illinois, another 1-loss team, number 8. I get they got blown up by Indiana. I don't factor in margin of victory. I factor in body of work, and Indiana and Illinois has 1 loss to Indiana, but they've beaten USC. If you look at their schedule strength, it's there. And then number 9 and number 10 are Texas Tech and Oregon. Undefeated teams, deserve to be in the top 10. Schedule strength needs to be higher for both of them. Texas has beaten Utah and Houston, which do count, but they got to do a little bit more. Now, other undefeated teams who I left off this list: BYU, Missouri, Georgia Tech, UNLV, Memphis, Navy, North Texas. The 4 group of 5 teams, and then 3 Power 4 teams. Those have all played terrible, terrible schedules. That's why I left them off the list. Schedule strength is starting to matter more, and that's just how it goes. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, why settle? Banks & Jones by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. We broadcast you live every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville. New and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. You guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow.